Hello, hello, hello! This is Overlord 86700 here with you today, and I am going to teach you guys how to play Magic the Gathering. And I am joined here today by my special guest, and you guessed it, it is my sexy hands and sexy watch. Yeah. Woo! Alright, well, I don't mean for you to get aroused by my hands, but they are kind of intimidating. So try to keep that off your mind, as I am going to teach you guys today on attacking and blocking creatures. The reason the game of Magic the Gathering is to get your opponent's life to 0. And really the only way to do that is through spells. The most fastest, funnest, and most common way is through creatures. Now, creatures can range from birds to fluffy bunnies to dragons to soldiers to werewolves to your grandma who seems to be yelling at you. Shut up, Grandma! I'm doing a video here! Jeez, she'll never listen. Well, you need to cast these spells and attack your opponent, but I'm going to teach you how to be able to control these fierce creatures. Today I will be using a blue deck. This is my side over here, as we need mana, and my opponent will be using a green deck. So with that in mind, without further ado, let's begin. Now, a few things that you need to know about Magic the Gathering and attacking and blocking creatures, besides that I am all-powerful and gorgeous with my sexy hands, is that if you put down a creature during your turn, they cannot attack until your next turn. So, for example, if I put down Armored Cancrix, a 2/5, and I put him onto the battlefield, I cannot attack my opponent until my next turn with this card. Why, you ask? Because there's something called Summoning Sickness. Summoning Sickness in definition means when you place down a card during your turn, they cannot attack until your next turn. So, if I put down Armored Cancrix, I cannot attack my opponent. The second thing is that when you are going to attack your opponent, you cannot choose one of your opponent's creatures to attack. So, for example, if my opponent has Centaur Courser on the field, I cannot say, I am attacking your Centaur Courser with Kraken of the Straits, Water Servant, Scroll Thief, and my middle finger. I'm kidding, no. But you cannot say, I'm attacking your creature. All you can do is attack your opponent directly. It's your opponent's job to decide how he wants to deal with the damage. If he can take it, prevent it, or split the damage by taking half and preventing half. Alright, so, as I have demonstrated, your opponent has to decide how he wants to block. Now, I will explain this here in a little bit, but first I'm going to go over some scenarios and explanations about how Magic the Gathering attacking and blocking works, so you can get the full insight. So, let's give up a quick example here. Let's say you go through 5 turns and you put down Coral Merfolk, Triton Shore Thief, and an Armored Cantrix. Your opponent, on the other hand, is let me see this card, is able to put down Centaur Courser and Greenside Watcher. Now, it is your turn, and your opponent has been making some funny faces at you, making fun of you, your mama jokes. Your mama's so fat, she looks like a whale. I'm horrible at those. But, you know what? You want to attack your opponent now. Now, to attack, you're going to tap. So, okay, let's say I want to attack my opponent with my Coral Merfolk and my Triton Shore Thief. To declare attackers, you will tap your cards 90 degrees. Tapping your cards will declare to your opponent that you're attacking them with these two cards. Once you tap your card, they do not untap until your next turn. While they are tapped, they cannot attack or block. So, here's a strategy tip. Let's say, again, I'm going to attack with my Triton Shore Thief and my Coral Merfolk. I have to tap them 90 degrees. A good strategy tip is that you want to leave at least one creature untapped or unattacking. And in this case, I'm going to use my Armored Cancrix. Why? Let's say I attack and my opponent takes the damage. He then can attack me with his 3/3 and a 2/1. With my Cancrix, I can block one of his creatures and have to take the other damage, instead of taking all of it at once. It's a good strategy tip. So, with that in mind, I'm going to use that for about what I'm going to do. I'm going to attack my opponent, of course, with my Triton and my Coral, so I have to tap my card 90 degrees. Now, Magic the Gathering is a nice game, so you don't have to yell out everything you're doing. You can simply tell your opponent, I am attacking you with my Shore Thief and my Merfolk. Simple, right? Unlike other games where, for example, you yell everything you do. I'm attacking you with my Shore Thief and my Merfolk! Will you take that damage? Ah! If that makes sense, because to me it did and I just make it up on the spot. But, don't. It's a nice game, man. You're practically having mustaches and drinking a cup of tea while you're playing this game. So, I'm attacking my opponent for a total of 3 damage. Now, my opponent, this is where it comes to blocking. So, pay attention for this. Now, you or your opponent has one of 3 options that they can do. They can either take the damage, brings their life down by 3, because it's a total of 3 damage. They can use their creatures to block my creatures to prevent the damage. Or they can split it. They can block one card and take damage from the other. Now, you remember those 2 numbers that I talked to you about some videos ago? The 2 numbers. Let's use Triton Shore Thief as an example. Those 2 numbers you see at the bottom? The first number represents the hit points, or how much damage it will deal, and the second number represents its health. So, when attacking and blocking, let's say my Greenside Watcher blocks the Triton Shore Thief, my Centaur blocks the Coral. Let's take this as an example. Greenside Watcher is a 2/1, as my Shore Thief is a 1/2. Now, my Triton Shore Thief will deal 1 damage to the 1 life of the Greenside Watcher, while the Greenside Watcher deals 2 damage to the 2 life of the Triton Shore Thief. They deal damage both at the same time, but because they took damage equal to their life, they will both be dead. So, they would go into your opponent's graveyard. Remember, 1 damage to the 1 life, 2 damage to the 2 life. If you can't understand the card real well, stack them up like I just did. Keep the numbers close to each other. First number's their deck, the second number's their life. These 2 cards would be dead because they equal each other out. Now, my opponent's Centaur Courser is a 3/3, as my Merfolk is a 2/1. The Merfolk deals 2 damage to the 3 life of the Centaur Courser. The Centaur Courser deals 3 damage to the 1 life of the Coral Merfolk. Because the Coral Merfolk took more damage than its life can take, the Merfolk is dead. Because 2 damage was dealt to the Centaur Courser, and it has 3 life, the Centaur Courser will stay alive. At the end of every turn, their lives are regenerated for the cards that survive the attack. So, the Centaur Courser will go back to 3 life. Unfortunately, the Greenside Watcher, Shore Thief, and Merfolk, because they all took damage more than they can take, they will be dead. And they will go into your opponent's graveyard. Or your graveyard, depending on which cards you attacked with. Seems pretty easy, right? Cool. Now, let me give out another scenario here. Let's say, after a few turns, your opponent puts down Nestled Swine and Fastwood Gorger. Now, these cards here are very powerful. This is a 5/6, a 4/3. Now, all your creatures were dead except your armored Cancrix, and you were able to put down a Squirrel Thief. Right? Let's also say you had some mana left over from your previous turn. It's your opponent's turn right now, and he decides to attack you with everything he has. Now, during your attack phase, you can place down spells just like any other card. That is, unless it's an instant, like I went over before. In my hand, I have Disperse. Return target non-land permanent to its owner hand. Because I have enough mana, which this costs 3, I have 2 left, I will tap the 2 mana and play Disperse. Now, it's very important that you read the cards. For this one, return target non-land permanent. My opponent is attacking with a whopping 5/6. I don't want to take 5, because no matter how I block it, one of my cards will be dead. So, I will use Disperse on the Fastwood Gorger. This card, the Disperse, would go to my graveyard, and the Fastwood Gorger would go to my opponent's hand, leaving me with only 2 more creatures to block with.